So here we have it, the man of the hour. He's a primetime Emmy Award winner, a Golden Globe Award winner, and he's been hot the past 2 years on the big screen. Please welcome Paul Walter, the sensational actor that he is, Hauser in the house. How are you, baby?
Thanks, dude. Thank you, man. That's cool. I'm doing well, man. Last time I saw you, I believe, was in a cigar lounge in Brooklyn, probably June of last year. So we're talking like 9 months ago or something.
Yes, exactly. And it was crazy because I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at you and I'm saying, man, I know I've seen this guy before. And let me tell you something, Paul.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
What you did in Blackbird, I was like, holy
Thanks, man.
shit, man. I was like, Paul, let me ask you this. Was it offered to you? Did you have to audition for it? What happened? Talk to me about that experience.
Blackbird was an audition process. Another actor who was supposed to do the movie fell out for one reason or another. So they're looking for somebody, and they came to me, which I would later find out was because Taron Egerton, my co-star in the show, the lead of the show, he recommended me early on. So I was already on his radar because he had watched me in something, and he told the producers, like, now that this other actor fell out, I'd like to pursue Paul. They said, yeah, we're going to make him audition though. And I did an audition over Zoom with Dennis Lehane, the creator of the show and the writer of the show. And for those listening, Dennis Lehane, he famously wrote the books and some of the screenplays for things like Mystic River, The Drop, Gone Baby Gone. He's a really prolific, celebrated author, beloved the world over, and he wrote this incredible show about a real life serial killer named Larry Hall and the guy who sort of infiltrated him and tried to get a forced confession out of him behind bars. So I did that audition. It went really, really well. I definitely prepared really hard for the audition, and I found out right around Christmas time or New Year's, from 2020 turning into 2021, which was a crazy time to begin with in our history. So it was some good news amidst a lot of bad news around that time.
Paul, the preparation for the audition, did you remember the choices you made? Did you remember what scene was the audition?
Yeah, the audition scenes were. I think one of them was Larry Hall telling the story of one of the girls he had abducted and what he did, because I remember one of them was really kind of gruesome and icky to do, and then the other one was a bit more tame and relaxed. So I think the first scene you see Larry Hall in the show in the pilot episode of the limited series. I think it was that scene with the investigators, and then it was a scene later in the show, episode 4 or 5, where he's kind of getting into the ugly details. But I just very much memorize the crap out of the dialogue just because that's your baseline, is like know the words, and then you interpret the words, and then you make some choices you think are interesting that you want to pepper in throughout the performance. And that's kind of the simple but complex recipe of that whole thing.
Did you remember the choices you made, Paul? Or
Oh yeah,
yeah?
no, I remembered a couple things and was trying to re-implement those when I went to actually shoot it. But more than anything, you just have to really, it's not an impersonation of Larry so much as it's an interpretation. And I think it's like that when you play all real people. When I watch the movie Vice with Christian Bale and I see Sam Rockwell doing George W. Bush, it looks and sounds an awful lot like him, but it's also his interpretation. You have to make peace with that. You're not going to perfect it, but you also hope to not make it feel like Saturday Night Live or Mad TV, where the interpretation is very kind of one-sided. You want it to have layers and dimensions.
What about your voice and speech? I was really impressed with that, Paul. I mean, you nailed it. What'd you do? How did you
Thanks. Yeah,
did you find it? What did you
that
do?
was there was like a composite of 9 or 12 seconds or something of audio of Larry Hall. If you're trying to play Ted Bundy or Charles Manson, you have a leg up because there's 5,000 hours of footage of them on YouTube. Larry did not have that. So I kind of had to find a really random brief clip of his audio, and it kind of sounded like well, my brother and I used to go out and do some hunting. It was kind of like that. And then what happened by episode 2 or 3 is I had unconsciously let the register go even higher. And I pulled Dennis Lehane aside on set and said, "Hey man, I think I kind of went too high with the voice." And he goes, "Yeah, we could tell. We're watching all the footage. It feels kind of high." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm screwing this up." And he said, "Well, no, you can justify it because some people alter their voice when they're lying, and maybe Larry's register is going up in prison as opposed to in the real world in the first episode where it's more tame." And he, just by doing that on the spot, he gave me gold, because then I would modulate it throughout the show. And uh and there were times where when Larry's trying to get Jimmy Keene, the Taron Egerton character, get him on his side and get details out of him, he drops the voice a little bit. I'm asking him about the age of consent or whatever, and I say, how old? And then when he doesn't really answer, I go, how old? And it drops noticeably to where you're like, oh, there's something jarring about that, and just discomforting about the fact that that voice might be a put on. It might be part of his performative strategic nature. So yeah, it was tricky to do that voice, and I'm glad I don't have to do it again.
Oh yeah. But it gets scary, right, Paul? It gets scary because you're worried. Am I doing this right? Right? You have thoughts in your head like that?
Oh, all the time. I'm never on big things like Richard Jewell or Blackbird, big dramatic things where the stakes feel kind of high and you really want to show up. I'm never fully at ease, like I have a grasp on what I'm doing. I'm always feeling like I'm still in the laboratory. I'm still in the fitness center trying to get it right. But with comedy, for some reason, it's a bit more instinctual, and you either have it or you don't with comedy, I think. So
I agree.
that's a lot more sort of fun and easy. But once a year, I try to put myself to the task and do a dramatic piece where it's pushing me creatively and mentally.
What about your movement? I noticed that your movement was. Did you create a movement as far as how the way the Blackbird character, how the way you walked and all that stuff, or you just stayed the same?
I kind of let the thoughts dictate the posture of the character.
Hmm.
So because he's in prison, which is intimidating, he probably secretly, hates himself and has a lot of baggage, trauma. All those things can kind of, you know, contort him to look the way he does in those scenes. But I think I did a lot of things where it was hunched over, and then occasionally I would straighten the posture if I was feeling like I was the most intellectual one in the room, so to speak. And and there were things I did where, like, I kind of did some cat like sort of cat work where, like, when he's leaning up against the wall, sometimes he'll kind of put his face on the wall or slink around the wall and let his whole body touch it. And some of that is kind of like a cat that's like looking at you, and it's kind of like keeping its distance, but also doing something. I don't know. It's uncomfortable the way, dogs are more readily available for the emotional component of the relationship between pet and human. Cats are kind of uh, withholding
Yeah.
and independent in that way, and so I tried to do some stuff like that I thought might be interesting.
Well, you see this picture right here, right? You see this picture right here?
Hmm.
So that picture, your eyes in that moment is like, to your superstar actor right across from you, and you're looking at him and you're like, what does he really want from me? Do I trust this guy? Right? I mean, you had thoughts like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's that look is very much Larry sort of juxtaposing both his own confidence and knowing that he can that he's killed people before.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it is you can be intimidated by other people because of their size or stature, but then you're also fully adhering to the fact that you have murdered people. So there is something fully capable and alarming and violent within yourself. So as far as the status of the character in all those scenes, it's really dancing between the knowledge of how dangerous you are and the reality of uh, how small you are in the world and in stature as well.
Well, brother, you were spot on, man. Spot on. I was like, who is this guy? Holy
Thanks, man.
shit, man. Awesome job. Let me ask you this. Clint Eastwood as a director, is he like a 2 to 3 take guy?
More of a 1 to 2 take guy.
Wow.
He does 1 or 2 takes and he moves on. There were times where I purposely would petition Clint and pull him aside and say, "Hey, I really need 1 or 2 more cracks at this."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and he would 8 out of 10 times he would grant me that. I might have asked for more takes 5 or 6 times while shooting, and he probably obliged 4 out of 6 of those times. Um, and apparently he's never done that for another actor, not for DiCaprio, not for Sean Penn, not for Tom Hanks. I'm told that I'm the only one he did that for, and I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I thought longer about it, and I thought that's it might not be indicative of a good thing. That might mean that he agreed. You need more help. You got to keep going. But I was fully aware that Jonah Hill was attached to play Richard Jewell before I was. A lot of roles that I've gotten were originally somebody else. In the movie I, Tonya with Margot Robbie, that was originally Josh Gad. In Blackbird, it was originally Shia LaBeouf. And for Richard Jewell, it was originally Jonah Hill. So I'm very much a recipient of grace and the hand of God, the fate of just walking into something that's been exited somehow. So I uh, I had a couple times where I would tell the camera operator like, man, I need another take, and the camera operator would kind of say to Clint like, hey boss, I don't know if I did the tilt or the zoom or the dolly that well on that one. Can I get that again? Under the guise of helping me. But the one where I was refusing to do 1 2 takes of was the scene toward the end of the film where Richard Jewell is told that he's exonerated on paper and the case is closed on him. And I'm in a diner and I take a bite of a donut and I start crying. That thing just felt too important to me that I was like, we gotta do this like 10 or 12 times. And then the editor, Joel Cox, who famously edited Clint's movies for like 30 years or something like that, Joel pulls me aside at the premiere and he goes, "You know the take we used?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "First take." And I was like, "No, no, you didn't. You did not use the first take." And he's like, "No, the main take we used out of multiple angles or whatever, multiple takes maybe, was supposedly the first," which I kind of refuse to believe.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, Paul, this is an interesting story about you. Since 16, you wrote 20 featured films. And then one of the scripts, hold on, one of the scripts, you called Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, says, brother, I got a script for you. Got to take a look. And 5 days later, yeah, we'll buy it. Right? Tell me that story.
That was gnarly. That was crazy. Yeah, they've licensed the movie to shop it around and to try to get financing. The movie is it's a road trip dark comedy that me and my buddy Brian Husky wrote. Brian is a famous comedian and actor. He came out of the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York,
Mm.
UCB they call it, and he's appeared in films like Fright Night and This Is the End with Seth Rogen and
Mhm.
a multitude of commercials in TV and film. But he and I wrote this thing over the course of like 12 years or something, 11, 12 years. And it was in good shape. And I hit it off with my cast members on the movie The Instigators, where I got to play opposite Casey Affleck and Matt Damon and all these great people. And I just kept in touch with Matt and Casey after the movie, and Matt briefly said, like, "Hey, I can tell, you're a good improviser. Maybe it means you're a good writer. Maybe send me one of your scripts sometime." And when people say that, you usually don't think they're gonna make good on it. I know I haven't read everybody's script they've sent me. I don't have a perfect scorecard for that. But Matt, to his testament, to what he said, I think 7, 8 months later, I left him a voicemail and sent him the script, and he gave it to Affleck and the rest of his company and colleagues. And within like 5 days, they were all like, "Yeah, we're on board. We want to do this movie." And my mind was blown. And since then, it's been a slow moving process. It's still, Hollywood working at its historic snail pace, but we're trying to get that movie made, hopefully in the next year or so.
Oh, that's so awesome. Paul, you come from a religious family, right? That's how you grew up. And
Very much so. Yeah.
how did acting get involved in your life? When did you realize, like, you know what, this is what I want to do?
Most of my family are preachers and teachers. It's a lot of churches and schools primarily. My brother is a sixth generation Lutheran pastor, so it's very much in the family and in the blood. I think early on when I was a kid, when I was 5 or 6, I would say I'm going to be, a minister or something, because that's just kind of what you know. It's just kind of it's all you know from that world. And then around the age of 7 or 8, we're talking 1993 to 95. I saw, Mrs. Doubtfire, Ace Ventura, Robin Williams voiceover as the genie in Aladdin, the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey. It was just like Jumanji with Robin Williams. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Chris Farley, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, Steve Martin, Martin Short, this guy behind me, Daniel Stern,
Hmm.
in the Home Alone films and Bushwhacked. And it was becoming apparent to me in the early to mid 90s that there are people that I gravitate toward who do this thing called comedic acting. And I just thought, if that's a real job and it pays as much as they say, like, that would be the dream. That would be the shit. I got to go do that. So I started doing theater around that time. About 10 years later, I got into screenwriting and wrote 20 scripts in the last 20 years, from 19 to 39. God, that's a long time. Yeah, about a script a year on average. Plus like 5 original TV pilots and a bunch of sketches and stuff, short films, short stories. And I just immersed myself in it and just said, I have to give this thing a go. Maybe it won't happen, but maybe it will. I'll never know if I don't do it. So I had a lot of support from my family, who could have been really kind of against the idea, but they were the opposite. My mother said to me when I was a teenager, she said, I would be more surprised if you didn't make it than if you did. And that kind of thing really, you know, uh, really kind of makes you believe in yourself. It kind of pumps you up in a way.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And then tell me the story about Adam Carolla. You would call back in the days. What would you do? Tell me that
Oh
story.
man,
That's funny as shit,
that's
man.
so funny. Yeah, like in 2006 or 2007, Adam Carolla had a show called Too Late with Adam Carolla. It was on at like 11 p.m. nightly, I think, on Comedy Central.
Hmm.
And I saw that they were taking calls from people to talk to celebrity guests, like a call-in thing, which was more prominent in the radio. You didn't see it on television very much. So I hit them up and sent an email with a bunch of questions for celebrities, and like I kind of pitched some jokes and stuff. And this assistant, this PA or whatever in the writer room, got back to me, and he was like, "Hey, we'll have you on, and you'll talk to a couple people, and you can." But it was like Evan from Cincinnati, or like you're Dylan from
Hmm.
Biloxi. It was like, it was not me being me. It was me playing fake callers.
Okay.
Um, and it wasn't paid. It was like totally me just doing it to try to get on TV. And so I think I talked to Paul F. Tompkins. I talked to John Stamos. I talked to Adam. and we went back and forth in a bit about like Tommy Lee, um, and it was and Daniel Stern actually. That's weird. Full circle. I'm now buddies with Daniel Stern. I know the guy, but I was a massive fan of his, and one of the questions Adam asked is, "What celebrity would you like to see make a comeback?" And I said Daniel Stern. And he goes, "Well, Daniel Stern's still like actively working," and I was like, "Not really." And he goes, "I'd like to see Jan Michael Vincent come back," and I was like, "I don't know about that." And then it turned into a thing of him being offended by me not agreeing with him, and so. Cut 2 years later, I did Adam Carolla's talk show while promoting something I did. What was it? I was on the promotional press tour for something, and I got to talk with Adam Carolla, and it was very very full circle. I don't know that he and I share all the same political views, but we both love comedy, and we have a lot more in common than we don't. So I had a good time getting to finally meet and talk to that guy.
Paul, at the cigar lounge when I met you, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, you were writing a script. What was the script? What was that script about? Do you remember that?
Oh God, I'm trying to remember. Was I reading a
You were
script
actually
or
no,
writing a
you were
script?
actually writing a script. You were like working on a script. I saw you on the laptop, and I was
It
like,
might have it might have been doing a rewrite on an action comedy me and my buddy wrote. Me and my buddy Julian Sergi wrote this movie um, called Let's Not Die, and it's like a throwback action comedy. It's got like the irreverent humor of the Seth Rogen sort of fraternity of guys, but it's really structurally like a throwback to Midnight Run or Beverly Hills Cop or 48 Hours.
oh man, I love those films. Oh my
Yeah,
god, it's so awesome. Here's my
probably
question,
that. Yeah.
Paul. You also told me you went through a dark side back in the days about alcohol, pornography, smoking weed, and all that stuff. It what that
Yeah.
at that time, Paul, was it like were you struggling as an actor back then, or was it just like, you know what? I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me.
I just I hit a point where I knew intellectually that I was struggling with marijuana and alcohol and um pornography use and overeating, and just I had this big appetite that guys like me have, man. Like Chris Farley, John Belushi, John Candy. There's just a lot of consumption, and these guys die young. Um, so I think I was kind of headed down that path for a while, and then I got out of the 300s and I lost like 60, 70 pounds,
Hmm?
and then I lost another like 20 pounds, and I just kept getting the weight down, but I was still very much like quelling quelling and quieting a lot of my insecurity and trauma. I wasn't addressing the hard things, and I wasn't owning up to my mistakes or my problems. So in this summer of 2021, when I was shooting Blackbird in the middle of the series, I stopped drinking and stopped watching pornography, but I was still using marijuana. And then 89 days into that sobriety, as it were, and what they call in California sober, you're still using marijuana. I decided to start my day count over, and I stopped October 26th of 2021. So I got about 4.5 years sober, and it helped me reconnect with my wife after I kind of ran off away from her. And it helped me understand myself, and getting into therapy helped me understand how I may have hurt other people, and how to treat them better. So it was a long journey, but a worthwhile one. I'm so much happier, so much healthier, and I feel like I'm a better person to be around when folks are around me now.
Well, let me ask you a question, Paul. When you were going through their struggles, did any of your friends sell out on you, or did you have friends, that stuck by you and say, Paul, you know what? I'm gonna help you. Come on, man, get out of this.
I think a lot of them were just kind of surprised by it because they never knew me as anything other than what I was, which was a talented sort of Neanderthal, a talented man child, you know. So getting out of some of that, not fully, I still collect action figures. I still, I watch and perform wrestling. I love comedy. I definitely have aspects of me that are still childlike or crazy, but I take responsibility for stuff now, and I think it more so just caught everybody off guard. The main people that helped me were my wife and some of the new friends I made, um, being in Alcoholics Anonymous and doing that whole thing.
Well, listen, you manned up. You went for help. So, you got to give
Had
yourself
to.
a lot of respect for that, because a lot of people that, they won't man up. They're not going to go, and if they
Yeah.
do, they go back, they fall, it's not going their way again, and it sucks,
Yeah.
it's mental. What I do, Paul, is I challenge myself. Like, I did a 5-day fast without eating. I just came out of it without
It's
eating.
hard.
Yeah. But if you
Yeah.
just put in your mind, just practice working. I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm fine with that. Even though I lost 9 pounds, I don't really care. But what I think, when you work on your mind and you say, you know what, let me challenge this. Let me see if I can really do it. And when you do it, Paul, when you finish it, you're like, brother, bring it on.
Yeah.
It's good
Well,
for your brain, man.
what you're talking about too is just the idea of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, as people get older, there's less and less of that. But there is a movement, on social media, especially, of folks who say, I kind of want to pick this torch up at 55 or 38 or 42 and try something new because the old thing might not be working, or I want to see what I can do if I commit myself to something. And that's what's really cool, is whether it's health related or otherwise, creatively, any capacity, from getting rid of a vice to taking up a hobby, you can do anything you want to so long as you commit to it. And then you get to kind of enjoy the fruit of said labors, and kind of realize that life has more for you. And I think anybody listening, what I would say, in closing, is just like, no matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing, the people you see that you envy who they are, what they accomplish, they're not different from you. They're the same as you. You were not born with some sort of curse or handicap. Curses were made to be broken, and handicaps were made to be a storytelling device. God is still telling your story, and every day you can choose which wolf you're going to feed and what story you're going to tell.
Yeah, exactly. Paul, what was it like working with Sydney Sweeney? Whoa, was that really a tough role for you?
That was a fun one. That was a movie called Americana. Not a
Mm-hmm.
ton of people saw it, unfortunately, but it was a cool neo sort of Western movie where, a bunch of people are going after their American dream in different destructive ways. And
Well, you just mentioned
I
that
had the
about
good,
right. You just mentioned about
yeah.
go for your dream. There you go.
I went after, my character falls in love with Sydney Sweeney's character, the local diner waitress, and we have kind of a funny, uh surprising connection in the movie, the two characters. And she was great to work with. She's obviously beautiful and, very popular, but I was really pleasantly surprised, or not surprised, that's not fair to say. I was just pleased to find out how well rounded she was as a person. And just by having conversation with her, I realized she was incredibly smart, and a moderate political person who could see both sides, and had her own opinion, and she was very resourceful and very cool. I liked working with her.
So, how was she with takes? Was she like, "Oh, give me, let me do another, let me do it again, let me do it again"? Was she like that?
No, she's just pretty chill. She comes prepared, and we both just kind of did the dance and played around with it until it kind of felt like we were hitting it. We both kind of looked. Most actors just kind of bring their own thing, but you're looking to the director to kind of affirm what it is you're doing or redirect you. And when they say nothing, that feels weird. That's where you're kind of like, well, you got to say something. This is getting awkward. I don't know if we're doing it or not. But every director works differently, and every actor works differently. I try to be malleable, but have an opinion.
Right.
So stay in that moderate zone, hopefully.
Paul, how much time do you have left? I know you told me 30 minutes.
I got about I could probably do like 3 more minutes, then I gotta hop on, get ready for my next
You got
thing.
it. Springsteen. That film was. I love the. It was dark. It was emotional. Talk to me about that, man. I actually enjoyed the film.
Really cool movie. Yeah, it once again, like Americana, not as many folks saw it as we had hoped, but we were trying to tell a really interesting story about a time in Springsteen's life. We didn't do the Wikipedia page cradle to grave
Right.
story. We did a time in which he was battling depression and struggling with the effects of fame and dealing with past trauma. And I think that story resonates with a lot of people. And I remember sitting in the movie theater. I got one of my best and oldest friends, Harrison Gilbertson, who plays one of the friends in the movie,
Hmm.
the guy with the car. And then to my right is my wife and my longtime friend and manager, Brian Walsh, and my entertainment attorney, Isaac Dunham. And behind me is Bruce Springsteen. So I'm surrounded by these people I love and work with and care about, and the icon Bruce. I'm sitting in the Chinese theater watching the movie, crying toward the end, just like having this full present experience of, wow, we told a great story. I did a good job. We made a good movie. Bruce is patting me on the back from behind me in the Chinese theater, and he's walking up with a guitar to play a song for us live. I mean, those are the moments you don't forget, and I'm really proud of that movie.
Oh, absolutely. And one more thing, we got to promote this film. Okay, Balls
Please.
Up. Okay, Balls Up coming out April 15 on Prime Video. Tell me the story real quick. I know you got to go, but Mark
Sure.
Wahlberg actually FaceTimed you, says, "Hey, you want to be in my film starting with me?" Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, Mark, I think Mark had been given a couple of casting ideas from the studio for the film, and it wasn't that he didn't like those people, it was that he just didn't totally see that there would be guaranteed chemistry. And Mark has worked with some of the same actors and does have chemistry with people like Will Ferrell. So I had known Mark for a couple of years. I had been on his HBO docuseries, Wall Street, and we had bonded over movies and fitness and being self-professed Jesus guys, Christian dudes. So he FaceTimes me and says, would you read the script? I want you to play the guy opposite me. And I read it that day and, immediately said yes. We had to jump through some hoops with the studio. They had other ideas. I was nobody's first choice except Mark. But the same thing happened with Blackbird. I was nobody's first choice but Taron Egerton. So at the end of the day, it's exciting to know you can find a cheerleader on some production and hope that they get you across the finish line and they invite you onto the squad. That's been the tale for a lot of my stuff. And I had a ball shooting it. We did 3.5 months in the Gold Coast in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Laughed a lot, learned a lot, and worked really hard. A lot of movies like Springsteen, I pop in and out. I don't work that much. It's a lot easier when you're the number one or two on the call sheet and you're in like almost every scene. It's a much bigger task, and you're trying to get in your workouts in the morning. You're trying to make time for your kids at night, and you've already had a 13 to 14 hour workday. So it you're kind of thriving on 5 hours a night and just absolutely gunning it the rest of the day.
Paul, I'm so proud of you. You are tearing it up, man. I can't wait to watch Balls Up.
Thanks, man.
Listen, when you're in New York, call me. I offered you to go to the Yankee game. Remember that? Remember I told you?
I know I could make it happen, but I would love to do a cigar and a Yankee game with you. Maybe we do like a daytime game on a Sunday or something,
Hey, brother,
and then go grab a stick afterwards.
guess what? And I will get you on the field. On me, baby. All right?
Awesome.
All right, Paul.
Love it.
Listen,
Thank you, Eddie.
thanks a lot, man. So much fun having you, man. You're the best, man. Seriously.
And for those listening and watching, Balls Up is on Amazon Prime, April 15th. Some people on the internet are clicking and clacking saying, this looks dumb. Guess what? It's a raucous, silly comedy, and we made it to bring levity and light and absurdity to a very darkened world right now. So if you feel you need that on your menu, we're serving it up hot, April 15th, Amazon Prime.
There you have it. Paul Walter Hauser, baby. And Paul, you know what I'm going to tell you? One of these days, you're going to win an Oscar. Coming from Eddie Motter. And you know what? I was right with Paul Raci about getting nominated for an Oscar for the movie Sound of Metal. So I'm going to be right with you. One day, Paul.
Paul Raci in Sound of Metal, one of the greatest performances of the last 10 years. Beautiful performance and a great film. I will. I received that, and only time will tell.
You got it, brother.
The luck I've had so far, the blessings I've had, I wouldn't be surprised if that fell in my lap too.
Guess what? Keep the water running. You are the best, all right? I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, brother. God bless you.
You too, brother. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Paul.